Okay, hey everyone, thanks for coming to this webinar for Before You Start January, practical online workshop designed to stop you repeating the same January mistakes with me. And I suppose a lot of you have come from knowing me through ATP Fitness or knowing me through social media or getting my emails. So I don't think I have to spend a lot of time here explaining who I am, hopefully. But if you don't, so obviously it's my 14th year of coaching clients. I'm qualified to speak about nutrition and training, so I'm qualified nutritionist and trainer. I think the biggest thing is that I have 13 years of in-person experience working with clients, one-to-one, both face-to-face and online. And obviously, I'm slightly obsessed with learning about nutrition and training. And the sole aim is just help people to live healthier. The biggest thing for me with this webinar is that I've seen mistakes people make and keep making when approaching January, and all I'm hoping for is by the end of this, it's just giving you a different mindset, a different approach, and it has you just maybe just taking little steps, little changes that you mightn't have thought of after watching this or after listening to this. Because I know this time of year is a good kickstart for people, and people are kind of bashing the whole New Year, New Me at the moment, and I actually like the idea of the New Year, New Me because it does give us that kind of kickstart after Christmas. It's more the approach that people take when they go for that new year, new me is the issue, not necessarily like the motivation to get going. So I'm hoping again there'll be a kind of clear strategy for you by the end of the talk here. And the main thing here is I actually give a fuck and I want to help. I know like probably every coach says that, but genuinely when I work with clients one to one or when it was an ATP, like the sole mission is to help people to get healthier, get stronger, be fitter, and I actually care about you getting results. So that's the biggest driver for me. Like, I said it's a Sunday night. Do I need to be doing this talk? No. Do I want to do this talk? Yes. Because I said if a couple of you make a couple of small changes based off this, I feel like my job done. So hopefully that convinces you to keep listening. I'm going to get stuck straight in. I really kind of, when I put this talk together, I went, you know what, there's going to be no bullshit. It's going to be straight to the things that I want to talk about. Some people might get slightly triggered or, frustrated at some of the things I might say. That's okay. You might be challenging your behaviors and your beliefs. Again, I believe that's okay. The aim here is to get you thinking and to get you kind of just taking a slightly different approach into January. So, mindset. This is where I suppose in a lot of my talks and talks I've gone to, this is kind of put towards the end of the talk. Whereas for me, I actually feel this is one of the most important parts of when it comes to improving overall health, your wellness. If you don't start with your mindset, with your mind, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. Your habits, behaviors, and beliefs determine the decisions you make. A lot of the time, we get caught up thinking that, if I could just be more motivated or if I could just kind of, kickstart myself again or find a way to do it. It's like if we don't tackle behaviors and beliefs that have led us to where we are, we're just going to keep repeating the cycle. And it's very uncomfortable to look back. We have to look back and go, okay, what has happened in my life over the last couple of years, last 5 years, last 10 years that has led me to a place now where I feel like, I'm not in control when it comes to my nutrition. I don't feel like, I want to exercise. What are the behaviors and the beliefs that we have us in that mindset? Because if we don't tackle those and challenge those, then we're going to just repeat the same cycle because our behaviors are ingrained in us from when we are born. And this is the deeper stuff that people don't really talk about when it comes to fat loss. You know, what we've done since we're born, what people we've learned from, that sets up what we believe to be true. And only by your beliefs being challenged by someone like me or by anybody else, and you being open to your beliefs being challenged, can you actually make a real change? So what I would say is like, look back and be like, okay, over the last number of years, this has been what I believe to be true when it comes to what I need to do to live a healthier life. If you feel you haven't gotten those results, it's probably about looking at those beliefs and challenging those behaviors. And I have in the third line there, like, you will have to change if you want to change. Again, I feel it's something that isn't said enough in case it kind of frightens people a little bit. But while we do want to find a strategy and approach that fits into your life, if you're in a place where you want to change from a nutritional standpoint, from a training standpoint, you are going to have to make some changes. You can't keep living the way you've been living and expect to get different results. So with that, what I mean by that is like, your nutritional habits do need to probably be taken a look at. Your training habits need to be taken a look at. What you do when you're going to bed, like your stress levels, all these areas need to be looked at. And you will have to make some changes to these, especially when it comes to like the weekends, which I'll touch on again later on. We can't continue to live in what we kind of class as balance if we've gotten to a place where we're not happy with our body composition, our body weight, or how we feel. So it is important to recognize change is needed. But what happens is people go to the extreme side of change. Like again, it happens from tomorrow. You will see people with their protein yogurts in their shopping trolleys. You'll see all the vegetables there. You won't see any chocolate. You'll tell people they're doing dry January. And it just goes from one extreme to the other. And that's the mistake that people make. Well, I'm okay with stepping it up. I'm doing it myself tomorrow. Like, as in like my nutrition will improve a lot tomorrow. I will make changes. I will step up my training a little bit after the last couple of weeks and not doing much over Christmas. But it's not an all or nothing approach. And it is that all or nothing approach that catches people the whole time. So we need to take an approach where we feel like it's going to last for the rest of our lives. And there's periods where you can go harder, which is no, like in January when it's quieter, not much social occasions on, you can absolutely go harder. But it's all about what you do in February and March that matters. So if you go take an approach in January that you feel isn't anyway sustainable past January, then it's not really going to work. The issue I have with what people believe to be true, when I ask clients in ATP, they often say like, I know what I need to do, I just can't do it. When I challenge that and I ask, what is it you think you need to do? A lot of people think it's I have to cut out all chocolate, I have to cut out carbohydrates, I can't have a social life, I can't eat out, I have to prep and plan all my meals. Like, that's a skewed vision of what we think we need to do. And that's again not your fault. In the last 30 years, diet culture has taught us that like extremes is what work. But I've said to people before, if you are continuously going back on a diet, then that approach probably isn't working. And it mightn't even be the diet approach, your mindset when you went on that diet, where you were in your life when you went on that diet. There's lots of reasons why that hasn't worked for you. And without reflection, you're just going to keep repeating that mistake. So I do want us to kind of just be open tonight to taking in what I say, but also you can absolutely ask me questions and challenge me if something comes up that does challenge your belief system. If you're watching or listening to this back, like feel free to reach out and just like ask me questions if you want to learn a bit more about a certain topic. I'm more than happy to help. The biggest challenge I have here is that I could do a webinar on every single sentence that I have in each slide, but I do want to get across as much as I can. The voice in your head is very convincing and you need to argue back. So this is something that I have worked on a lot over the years. And a lot of people, we listen to that voice in our head that seeks comfort. And if we just listen to that voice and go, okay, my head is telling me this, therefore I won't bother going for a walk, or my head is telling me this, therefore I won't bother, cooking that meal, I'll get something, a takeaway. That voice lies to you so much. And if you don't challenge that narrative, like that, when that voice in your head says, go on, sure, you deserve it, or go on, geez, you're tired, sometimes we have to listen to that. Sometimes we are physically exhausted. Sometimes we have done too much or got absolutely poor night's sleep where we do, it's better to back off than to push. But a lot of the time, it's more of a comfort seeking voice. And if we challenge that narrative, you would be surprised where you'll end up. So when we say like, oh, I'm gonna have a bar of chocolate, like it's about having a conversation of do I want a bar of chocolate because I'm physically hungry? Or do I want a bar of chocolate because, something emotional has happened, like, I'm feeling stressed or something's happened in my day. Is it an emotional response that I'm going for the chocolate? If it's a case of like, I'm physically hungry and you want a bar of chocolate, then absolutely go have the bar of chocolate. But if it's a case of like you feel it's an emotional response, or I'm doing this because I'm stressed, or I'm doing this because I'm tired, have the conversation with yourself. Okay, I'm going to hold on for 60 seconds or 2 minutes here. If I still want it after that, then maybe go and get it. But if we want to not react to that initial voice, because when we react to the initial voice, it's almost always an emotional response. And if you check in with yourself, going like, am I physically hungry? Why do I want a chocolate bar? And there's nothing wrong with having a chocolate bar, you can, but it's like if you still want it, then go and get it. But if we're just not talking back to that voice, we're just going to always be in a place of comfort. And we're very good at justifying to ourselves why we should be there, especially when it comes to training as well. It's like, I don't have time to train, or it's too cold to get out and train, or I just don't want to go and train. I'm too tired. I had a bad night's sleep last night. And again, there's times where we need to push back and times we need to accept that. But a lot of the time, once you start moving, once you get out the door, once you go for that walk, the first minute or two, you realize you're actually okay to do it. Same when you get to the gym, you do the warm up and you realize, oh, I'm actually okay now. So just be mindful that like that voice in your head is lying to you a hell of a lot. And it's about you. The next time that pops up, just have a conversation back with it. I know it sounds mental, but like just obviously don't have the conversation out loud. But just challenge it a little bit. And what I would say is if you just, it's like when it comes to exercise, just start the thing. So if you say, okay, I'm not going to go for a half an hour walk, but I'm going to go for a 2 minute walk. I'm going to put on my jacket and go and start walking for 2 minutes. 99% of the time you're going to walk for longer. For me, definitely over the last couple of weeks since being injured, like motivation to train was dropping. And it was like I did not want to go to the gym at 7 or 8 p.m. However, I was like, I'll just fucking get on my gear, I'll drive to the gym. And like just by driving to the gym, you're making yourself go. And like in that voice in my head multiple times was like, it's fine if you miss a session, it's okay, it's Christmas. And it would have been fine. But just to reach a longer term goal, you have to do things that are not comfortable. So just the next time that voice comes ahead tonight, tomorrow, when you're like, here, I won't bother planning my meals for the next couple of days now. Just talk back to that voice and you'll be surprised what that'll bring you. And without a very clear goal, motivation is going to absolutely drop off. So people talk about motivation. There's only so much you can get in motivation, especially coming to this week now. You are going to be motivated to make a change, which is great. Like lean into that. However, set some goals along the way. Set some goals for January, then set some goals for like the next 6 months by the end of the year. And there's different types of goals, which I'll touch on in a second. But by setting goals, you're going to have a reason to do something. So again, like, being injured, I want to do the Cork City Marathon in June. So I know if I don't go and do my strength work to get back from my injury, then there's no way I can do this goal in June. It doesn't have to be a marathon. It could be something like a wedding or it could be something. It doesn't matter what it is as long as it means something to you. But if you don't set clear, specific targets, then you're going to be able, that voice is going to be like, actually, you don't have to do it. And while health, like longevity and long-term health is a motivating factor, it's a big motivating factor for me being a dad of two girls. Sometimes that isn't enough, to motivate me 6 months, a year down the line. So what I'd say is like, have that as your overall motivator, because that's the motivator for almost all of us, I'd be happy to say. But do pick like, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year goals, little targets that you're aiming towards along the way. Because overall, by ticking those boxes, you will get to that hopefully end goal of longevity and health. But it's not going to be a motivating factor. It's going to keep you going for the next 20, 30 years. The main thing I want to put together here was action slides. So I can talk all night, you can listen all night, but if you don't take action, it means fuck all. Sorry for cursing, well, that's just how I speak. The main thing here is write out clear and specific goals for different areas of your life and break them into outcome, process, and performance goals. Now, you can decide to this or you're not, but if you decide to do this, it's going to help. If you just listen to this, it might help a little bit, but taking action will definitely help more. So, right now, clear specific goals for different areas of your life. What I would say is like, yes, use health and fitness or like whatever you call this, like for you, set out clear specific goals of 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year of what you want to achieve. Make the ones that are 6 months and 1 year down the line a bit scary of like, it's going to take a hell of a lot for me to get there. Don't make it like that's an easy one to tick. We'll talk about those in a second in regards to process goals. But make your goals something that like is going to feel uncomfortable and almost like, I don't know, can I do that? And I think that's where we kind of fall short on goal setting a little bit, is that we almost go to like something that's completely impossible, as in like it really is, you never really actually really sort of getting there. But like find that medium where we're like, that's going to be hard. Like I'm gonna have to train to get that. I'm gonna have to watch my nutrition to get that. I'm gonna have to do those things, or I'm not gonna reach that. I'm not sure. Can I do that? And just by having that, I'm not sure. Not that I definitely can't, but I'm not sure, and it's going to take a lot of effort to do that. That's going to motivate you when you're kind of not feeling motivated. Because again, going back to my injury, it's like I have to go and do my exercises, or I ain't getting back to full running health. Hopefully. So just by setting those targets is going to be key. But I'd also suggest, like, when it comes to goal setting, I do it in all different areas of my life. I break my life into compartments. It's how I work with goal setting. Like, so I have like my business, my career, I have family life, I have obviously financial, I have, this impact health and fitness, like, what I want to achieve here, my own health and fitness goals. They're all little goals in there in each area and just having little targets there helps to motivate you each time, and writing them down somewhere makes a big difference. So I'd say like look at different areas of your life you're looking to improve and have those little goals. It could be one goal for each, two goals for each, it doesn't matter as long as they mean something to you. Now the biggest thing here is like breaking them into what we call outcome, process, and performance goals. Or the two ones here really are the outcome and the process goals. An outcome goal is something where you go, I want to run 10K in an hour in 3 months' time. That's an outcome. I want to lose 10 kg by September. That's an outcome. That's where you're going. Did I achieve this? Yes or no? Outcome goals are good. However, outcome goals without process goals will almost set you up to fail. So while having an outcome goal is absolutely the motivating factor, the big driving factor you have up on the wall there in front of you where you can see it, setting process goals is going to be the key one there because you want to set process goals that will allow you to tick boxes each day, each week that you know you're on the way. And most people, when setting process goals, set the bar too high. And when they set the bar too high, they don't jump over the bar each week. They think they're failing, and then that kind of demotivates them to keep going. So what I would say as a process goal is I'm going to commit to training twice per week. I'm going to commit to drinking 1.5 to 2 liters of water each day. I'm going to commit to being off my phone by 11 p.m. every night. Now, it's completely different for every individual person what your process goals should and could look like. But by doing that, you set them as realistic targets. And it needs to be realistic because the more times I've had clients who like they'll sign up for coaching and they'll say, I'm going to train 4 times a week, but they haven't been training at all. I will set the bar at two. I'm like, if you take 2 sessions per week for the next 3 to 4 weeks, then we'll add in a session. Because what happens is if we set it at four, they get two or even three in, they feel like they've failed. And it's that feeling of failure that can absolutely kill you when you're actually on the way to achieving something. So set some process goals. So when you have your big outcome goals that you've set out within each part of your life, set out one or two process goals that you feel are achievable. Think of just bars you can jump over. If that is like 2 walks a week and you start there and but you hit that every week, you're ticking that box, tick, tick, because that tick a box is what will drive you on. And then you add in the third walk. So think more adding in versus starting big and put yourself under that pressure. And that's where a lot of people do fail. Performance goals mainly come from training aspect. With performance goals, it's about motivating you to keep training. So this again is where people fall short is that they look at like when they say the word performance, they're thinking about that 10K or thinking about that 5K or doing that high rocks competition. That's the outcome goal. But the performance goal along the way is okay, I want to run 1K without stopping. I want to run 2K with at a certain pace. Like, and you're setting yourself performance targets along the way. In the gym, I want to lift 10 kgs on my incline chest press. You're setting them along the way that you're towards a bigger target. This is what I'm going to set as a performance goal. If you're going to a high rocks competition, it's okay. In the high rocks competition, like in my training for the high rocks competition, I want to be able to build up the power I can give on a ski erg, a performance goal. So these are performance goals, they all tie in. So setting outcome and process goals are going to be a key factor. If you don't take the time to goal set, nothing's going to really happen. I've said this numerous times on podcasts and other platforms that we don't achieve things by accident. I think I might have said it later on in one of the slides here. If you want to achieve something, think of the things you've done in your life. You passed the driving test. What did you have to do for the driving test? You went to college, you passed exams. What did you have to do? You had to study, you had to put the work in, but you set an intention. You went like, I want to achieve this thing, this outcome, and therefore I have to do this process to achieve this outcome. It's the same principle when it comes to your health and fitness. Yes, have the outcome goal, but if you don't have the process goals set out along the way, you're just not going to stay motivated. You're not going to do the things you need to do to achieve it. So the action point from that slide is to set clear specific goals that are outcome and process based. Nutrition. So, and as I said, this is like every single sentence here could be a full slide or it could be a full webinar. But I want to try and give you as much helpful information as possible. Your nutrition will determine your fat loss and your fat gain. This is where some like people might not be too happy to hear that it is this, but as a nutritionist, as a coach, as a personal trainer, as someone I hope you trust, it is down to your nutrition. So yes, I want you to exercise. I'm going to just a couple of slides on that. That's very, very important and it has a knock-on impact. But when it comes to gaining body fat, when it comes to losing body fat, it is 100% your nutrition. And the reason it comes down to your nutrition is that the calories we burn through exercise are so low that it's almost non-impactful. Obviously, if you're training lots during the week, it's different. But if you're training a couple of times a week, the total calorie expenditure you have from those couple of sessions doesn't earn you the right of you should be losing body fat. It's just too small. Like what you do in a 30 or 40-minute gym session, you could burn 200 to 400 calories, depending on what the session is, obviously, but that can be eaten back in literally a few seconds. So we have to put the full focus when it comes to weight loss on our nutrition and looking at our nutrition. The biggest thing I would say here is that you are being fed a lie about fat loss. Is that like I see it all the time. I know it's probably people I follow, but you're being told it's simple, it's easy, it's basic nutrition, it's understanding calories and everything else. It's extremely hard, and I don't think enough people say this that like fat loss is extremely difficult, and that it's extremely complex. There's so much to fat loss that actually matters. So yes, it is calories in, calories out. That's what Sitco is, but it's so much more than that. When it comes to losing body fat, when it comes to losing weight, we have to look back again of like what led us to the point where we've gained this weight. So what has happened over the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, our lives that has led us to get to a place where we're now not too happy with our body weight, our body composition, that we now want to lose that. Unless we look back and see again what caused that, and what caused that was we consumed more calories than our body needed over an extended period of time, and slowly, very, very slowly, we've gained body fat. It doesn't happen fast. It hasn't happened fast. It's happened over years. And until we look and go, okay, what behaviors, what beliefs, what trauma happened in my life, what happened over these years that I saw this happen and I wasn't able to do something about it. And I know that sounds a bit deep, going back into the mindset stuff, but yes, you have to look at your nutrition to get it down. But if we don't look at how we got there and if we haven't made changes from that, if we're still doing the same things, it's going to be hard to lose the weight. When it comes to nutrition itself, we take a non-judgmental but honest review of our nutrition is what's needed. So people are very short term when they think about their nutrition. And this is where again fat loss being something that takes a lot of time to do to get, or the fat gain takes a lot of time. Fat loss takes time as well. And this is the biggest, I suppose, challenge of your belief system is that you haven't gained the body fat in a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. It's happened over years. Now you can begin to lose weight and lose fat, over the next couple of months, but without a longer strategy and longer approach to what you want to achieve in regards to your fat loss, it's just going to be a case of you'll do it for a period of time, you'll stop and you'll go back to those behaviors and beliefs. So it comes back to again our behaviors and our beliefs around nutrition. And until we challenge that, it's going to be the yo-yo cycle. When it comes to the nutrition that you're currently eating, that's what we look at now as, I suppose, the problem. Whereas it's not, it's like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that's what's caused the fat gain. So looking at nutrition now doesn't mean everything's wrong, but it just means we have to think about our total calorie intake over a week, over a month, over a year, and that's the step back view from our nutrition. Whereas we live in a world now where singular foods are bad or good, and we want to break that mentality. So we want to get in control of our total calorie intake. We want to understand a bit more about nutrition, and if we don't do that, if we don't have that knowledge, then it's about trying to acquire that knowledge through webinars like this. But it is going to be down to your total caloric intake, and getting in control of that is what's going to be a determining factor in your fat loss or whatever your goal is. We must first accept the fundamental principle of energy balance, and this is something that people challenge me on, and I'm okay with having that discussion with people. But I had this conversation with my friend the other night. He's just gained some body fat in his stomach area and stuff, and I was like, there's more reasons as to why we're eating more than we should, but like at the end of the day, it is literally you're consuming more calories than you need right now, you know. And a lot of people think like, they're doing the same thing they were now as they were 5 or 10 years ago. I can guarantee you weren't, because We are more sedentary now than we've ever have been. Like our lives are just completely set up to be burning as little calories as possible. And we live in a nutrition environment now that is calorie dense. Like we are surrounded by foods that are high in calories, low in nutrients, really highly palatable, so easy to eat and easy to consume. Like a packet of biscuits could be gone in a couple of 5 minutes, could contain 1,000 calories. Like, if we don't have nutrition awareness and we understand there is energy in everything we eat, every single food that we eat has energy. Different foods have different amounts of energy. Some foods have a lot of calories for a small volume of food, think a chocolate biscuit. Others have not a lot of calories for a high volume of food, so think your fruits and your vegetables. And they all play a role in overall health, but also in our total calorie intake in a day and a week. If you accept that the energy balance is what the issue is, it's about attacking that approach. And there's so many reasons why you eat more than your body needs right now, and your needs do change over time. But again, it's about looking at why am I consuming more? A lot of the time, why we're consuming more is that our nutrition strategy is low in fiber, low in protein, low in nutrient density, and that's leading us to get into that point of hunger. But when it comes to that point of hunger, we have to recognize again behaviors and beliefs that our hunger cues can be messed up from years of dieting, years of that binge mentality, of that good and bad food. And it's a matrix that people aren't telling you about. So this is where a strategy and a structured plan is what's super important when it comes to your nutrition. A lot of people can create a calorie deficit. Anybody can create a calorie deficit, but without a structured plan, you're setting yourself up to fail. And I see this on a number of occasions. People will skip meals, people will cut out macronutrients, people will go all or nothing when it comes to their nutrition. And you've created that calorie deficit, but it's not in a way that stops you from being starving, stops you from having being low on energy. And that's where that unsustainable factor comes in. When you're creating a calorie deficit, you have to remember what you're doing. You're not giving your body enough fuel for what it needs to do. So if we think you need 2,000 calories a day to maintain your body weight, just as a reference number. Now we're going to give you 1,600 calories a day. So you have 400 calories less than what your body needs. Now, because you're not getting enough energy through your food, your body is smarter than you think it is. It's going to go, I'm not getting enough energy to meet this 2,000 calorie requirement that I have. I'm going to find this energy from somewhere. It's usually going to go to your fat stores. Somewhere we store fat in our fat cells. It's going to go use that and we're going to burn that fat for energy. Most of the energy we burn is fat throughout the day because your heart rate intensity determines which fuel source that we predominantly use. They're all being used, so like carbs, fats, very, very little protein, but carbs and fats are the main fuel sources. When we're working at higher heart rates, higher intensity, we predominantly look for carbohydrates as glucose as our fuel. But when we're at low intensity, which is me here talking to you, I'm burning fat now, on that lower heart rate intensity. So predominantly burning fat. Our body will go to our fat cells. It will use that stored energy. That's what fat is. We store it as energy and when we burn off that energy, over time, if we stay in that deficit long enough, those fat cells begin to shrink. And that's fat loss 101. The problem is, if you don't create a deficit that works for you in regards, when you go into that calorie deficit, hunger is going to go up. Your body's going to be like, hey, I'm not getting my 2,000 calories. I need you to feed me more. And that's where your nutrition strategy comes in. If you increase your protein intake, and this is why we talk about protein a lot, not just for muscle repair and recovery, but if you increase your protein intake, that's slow digesting. So it doesn't leave your stomach for as quick as carbohydrates do. So by being in your stomach longer, it delays the hunger signaling cue. Even when you eat carbohydrates, like say, or even like sugary carbohydrates, if you eat it with protein, it slows down that digestion. So again, you're not getting that signal of, hey, I'm hungry. And that's why protein is called the most satiating macronutrient because it's slower digesting, helps you feel fuller for longer. So if you increase your protein intake when you're in your calorie deficit, that's going to help. The same when it comes to fiber. So fiber is your whole range, your fruits, your vegetables, your legumes. If you increase that, digestion is slowed down. So I think like, your stomach sends signals to your brain when our stomach is emptying, sends signals to the brain, hey, I need more food. So we want to kind of battle those cues. So things like that are going to massively help. So if you're going into a calorie deficit and just slashing calories without thinking about your nutrition strategy, it's going to set you up to always be constantly battling that hunger. Even things like spreading your meals out throughout the day, versus skipping meals. There's a lot to think about. You don't have to nail everything, but when you're creating your calorie deficit, even the size of your calorie deficit matters. People will often go to a really low calorie deficit, 12, 1300 calories. While you will see a drop in the weighing scales, you will see the weight come down. The next couple of days, your energy is going to plateau, it's going to feel flat. So that then in turn reduces your overall movement, and then that in turn reduces your overall calorie expenditure, and then that has a knock-on impact again. So this is what I'm saying is like it's just so much more to it than like just eat less and move more. They're just not helpful. It's not that they're not true. We do have to eat less to lose body fat. We do have to move more to burn calories, but it's just not a helpful statement. So it's about the next time you're looking to drop body fat, is that you're creating an actual plan from it because that's what's going to help you long term to achieve success. And it's time to be honest about our weekends. I think this is something I don't see a lot of coaches talk about. Um, and obviously post Christmas now is different, but like it's the weekends that catch people, and everyone says that, but it's like why? The weekends catch us because Monday to Friday we're working. We feel like again that voice in our head is like seeking comfort. We have worked all week. We deserve to have A, B, and C, and you absolutely do deserve to have something. But it's like, can you make a slightly healthier choice? Can you still be aware of your calorie intake? Can you decide that it's going to be one meal out or one takeaway or one dinner or whatever, and then the rest of your meals are still thought about? Whereas what happens is Friday afternoon comes and it's like, I've been good all week, therefore. But that's because the good all week is too extreme. We need to get to a place where like it's not good all week. It's like this is just how we eat. And how we eat is yes, we can have a couple of glasses of wine. Yes, we can have a takeaway or a meal out, but it's just we can't do it excessively and we can't do it all the time if we don't want it to be a case where we're either at maintenance or in a calorie surplus. Because if you've created a deficit of 300 or 400 calories Monday to Friday, and then you go eating out for brunch and dinner, you have a few drinks, and then Sunday's a bit kind of off with the nutrition as well because you're hungover, you're not feeling great. Like you've just wiped out your deficits, you stay at maintenance. And it's about having the weekend a place where, like, yes, I can still have a social occasion, but that social occasion is spending time with my friends or spending time with my family, and nutrition and alcohol play a role. Yes, they're there, but the main center of this is that I'm spending quality time with my friends, quality time with my family. Yes, some alcohol is there. Yes, some nice food is there, but I can choose to stop eating when I'm full, or I can try to practice that or bring in some mindful practice techniques to work on that. I can choose to limit my alcohol intake or go for a lower calorie alcohol option. I can choose to drink water in between my alcoholic drinks. And to be honest, like, as someone who does drink alcohol, I think there's still wine and cheese going through my body from Christmas. It's one of the worst things when it comes to fat loss. I'll be straight up about it. Like alcohol has no role to play when it comes to fat loss. As soon as you start drinking alcohol, your body is like, okay, I can't do anything with this, so I need to get rid of this. So basically, the fat process gets slowed down dramatically. There's lots of hormonal things happen when we drink alcohol as well. So what I would say, if you are someone who's looking to lose body fat, dramatically reducing your alcohol intake would definitely help. And that again comes back to our mindset and our belief system of, can we enjoy ourselves with alcohol being a very small role in it? And again, that goes back to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what we believe that having a good night out means. And as someone again who will partied hard in my 20s and still every so often does, it's not that one night. It's like looking at your whole year and what does that look like. So just be mindful of the weekends. It is a challenge. The action point from nutrition is track your nutrition for one full week, honestly, and include the weekend. Whether that's tracking through MyFitnessPal, like the app that I have here, like you can track nutrition on that by writing out a food diary. So literally just like every single thing you eat and drink for a full week, write it down, or write down your notes in your phone. One of the biggest tactics I would use with clients over the years was, just you're about to sit down to eat something, get out your notes in your phone. Breakfast is oats, 200 mils of milk, honey, or if it's a bowl of Cocoa Pops, there's like 60 grams of Cocoa Pops with 250 mils of milk. Just track everything for one week. Yes, it might feel tedious. Yes, it might feel like it's a bit of work to do. However, it's going to open your eyes to your overall nutrition intakes. That's what you can do it by tracking calories, which can be very helpful. I'm a fan of it. But if you decide to not do that, you can just track it, but track it for 7 days. Don't stop on Friday. Write down what Friday night, Saturday, Sunday looks like, and you'll start to see, okay, if I can make a couple of changes here, then that'll probably help me to either, if the goal is fat loss or maintenance, whatever it is, it'll help me to stay there. Whereas if I keep doing this, I'm either going to be keeping staying in maintenance or I'm going to end up in a surplus. And unless you track for a full week, and I mean like everything that goes past your boat, the only thing that doesn't have calories are 0 calorie drinks, which are absolutely fine to have, by the way, and water. Everything else has calories in it. So even like a client recently was pouring olive oil into their pan, a free pouring, and explained to like it's 120 calories in a tablespoon of olive oil. Does It's not a bad food. It's a really, really healthy, good food for us. It's a good fat, but just be mindful of the total amount that we're putting in. So everything has calories, and becoming aware of that can be very helpful. I'm a huge advocate of calorie awareness when it comes to nutrition. Doesn't mean you have to track every calorie. Doesn't mean you should be obsessive about tracking your food. However, a week or two of tracking your nutrition can be like, oh, geez, there's 250 calories in that. I didn't know that. Now I do. Now I can make an informed choice. And even when it comes to the biscuits, a client last night was on about he eats multiple biscuits a night. I was like, okay, track them. And what you'll find is that when you track and you put in 4 biscuits is 360 calories, you might just have a second thought of having another biscuit. You might decide, fuck it, I'm going to have it anyway, and you have it. But if you go, okay, I've had 360 calories, I'm not physically hungry, I'm probably going to stop. And it's that awareness that we're trying to create. And that'll be key to your overall nutrition. So track nutrition for the week, plan out your meals in advance. I don't understand. There is a barrier with some people why this is a barrier. It does bash me a little bit. Like, if you're not thinking ahead of what your meals are going to be, you're leaving it to chance, you're leaving it to hunger, and you're leaving it to feelings. Because how we feel depends on how the kids have slept last night, how you slept last night, what you did the day before, what your meals look like that the day leading up to that. But if you get to the place where I'm not sure what's for dinner, I'm not sure what's for lunch, you walk into a canteen, you get that calorie dense environment where everything smells really good, you're going for the most calorie dense option, the unhealthiest option. You gotta kind of bank on, if I'm out for 4 or 5 hours here tomorrow, then I got to make sure that I have a decent breakfast in the morning and I bring a snack with me because I know I'm going to be hungry. Because if I don't do that, if I just say have a light breakfast and don't bring a snack, come lunch, I'm starving. I'm stopping in the shop. I'm probably getting a hot chicken wrap or a hot chicken roll or something. So it's important to plan your meals and plan your days in advance. Like I've no doubt we're back to school tomorrow. Everyone's back doing what they're doing. That you have an idea of what your week looks like from a social point of view, from your job point of view. It's about looking at your nutrition and being like, okay, do I have an idea of what I want to do from a nutrition point of view? What do my breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack maybe look like? And it doesn't mean, again, you have to exactly follow that meal plan, but do have a plan. Do have an idea of what that's going to look like, whether that's the day before, a couple of days before. When it comes to preparing food, a Sunday can be a good day to get like Monday, Tuesday, a couple of meals done, and then Wednesday, do it for Wednesday, Thursday into Friday. It'll just make a big, big difference. People kind of use the excuse, that's the word. I was going to think something softer. The excuse that, like, you shouldn't be, tracking your meals and planning your meals. And like, if your goal, so it comes down to your goal, if your goal is to lose body fat and to live healthier, planning out your nutrition like you would other parts of your life is what's needed. But it doesn't mean you have to be perfection, like counting to the calorie or like only just eating this. If you decide for lunch you want to have whatever meal it is, and that next day you're like, do you know what, today I'm going to have eggs instead because I feel like having it. That's okay. You don't have to rigidly stick to something, but I would say plan your nutrition if you do want to improve it. Aim to have a protein source 3 times in your day. And the challenge here is lunch can be okay for people, like your bit of meat, your poultry, your eggs or whatever, and then dinner usually there's a protein source there. So either in a snack, like again, protein-based yogurts, like your Greek yogurts, that kind of stuff, like cheeses. Smoothies can be a good one as well. Big fan of protein shakes as well. They're just handy. But again, breakfast is where people fall short. If you're not having like some sort of eggs for breakfast, I'm personally a huge fan of an omelette or any sort of eggs. I love eggs. If you can get eggs in breakfast or lunch, I don't know, some people might still believe the myth of eggs versus cholesterol. That's been blown out of the water years ago. Um, it doesn't have a direct impact. So if you've kind of not had eggs because of that, I would say, and you enjoy eating eggs, go back eating them. But they can be a great source of protein with 6 to 8 grams of protein per egg. You can have it in omelette, boiled eggs, fried eggs, whatever way you want. But getting eggs in the morning or in the lunchtime can be a great way of getting your protein up. In the morning, it is a challenge. Like, again, we talk about cereal. Someone asked me the other day, do I not like Weetabix? And I didn't say I actually do like Weetabix as a cereal, But what happens with Weetabix, if we have Weetabix with, it was actually Weetabix with oat milk and honey, that's just pure carbs. And again, I'm a fan of carbohydrates. Carbs are not bad. Let me be very clear on that. But when we consume three Weetabix with some honey, with some oat milk, we get a burst of carbohydrates. They digest really quickly. It's very low in protein. Again, what we talk about when that happens, right? Our blood sugar spike, and then we're like, hey, we're hungry again an hour later, 2 hours later. So again, trying to just counteract that, we went like, okay, can we try an overnight Weetabix, which has some Greek yogurt and stuff like that, and just brought it in. They liked it, happy days. Some people don't like that. You're not going to get protein in a breakfast unless you're actively trying to do it. What I would say is if you had it at lunch, had it at dinner, and had one protein-based snack, you'd be well on the way to hitting your protein target. So just be mindful of trying to get in at least 3 times in your day is what would be my suggestion when it comes to a protein source. And the lowest hanging fruit that almost everyone I've ever coached struggles with is drinking at least 2 liters of water a day. I don't know why. It's such a struggle for a lot of people, but it really, really is. Water is one of the most important factors when it comes to how we feel, cognitively, physically, how we perform. Our hydration is absolutely crucial. So if you take nothing else in this, it's like set out 2 liters of water as your target. Ideally, drinking a bit more, but depending on the person, if you're a smaller person, if you're a bigger person, you definitely need more. 2 liters of water each day. How do you do that? Drink a glass of water or even a pint of water first thing in the morning you wake up. Create a habit. So when you go in the morning, you go downstairs, pint of water, glass of water, whatever it is. Set a reminder on your phone, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, have a drink of water. Those people have those bottles that kind of tells you as well. But like if you don't have a bottle with you, like I have the glass with me here now, but I have the bottle with me most times. I carry it everywhere with me. It's in my car if I'm going somewhere. If you don't have a bottle with you, you're not going to reach it. And when you start increasing your water intake, just be mindful of like urination can increase, but after a week or two, that will kind of level off. So if you are increasing your water intake, what I would say is try to kind of front load it towards the morning, mid-afternoon, and just not to be drinking loads in the evening to make up your water intake because you will end up getting up to pee in the evening. That's the action from the nutrition. Training. So movement is the priority. So start with what you enjoy doing. And that's the most important thing. You don't have to love everything you do with training. I'll talk about that in a second. But like, what do you actually enjoy doing? If you say nothing, okay, we gotta just pick something and get you going. But there's so many different things we can do now. Like, yes, there's strength training, there's different forms of cardio, like so you got swimming, cycling, running, biking, you got classes, you got high rocks, you got Zumba. There's just loads we can now do. Yoga, Pilates, it's unlimited at this stage. So don't say you don't like exercise if you haven't tried one. That's my first thing I would say. If you're not doing any sort of like, I suppose, planned movement a couple times a week, we want to try and find a way to get you doing that. What I'd say is go back to we talked about setting the goals and the process goals. What's the minimum you can do? And that's the question I want you to ask yourself and plan out is like, what is the minimum you can do? If that is, I can do one session a week, or I think I can do one session a week, then you jump over that bar every single week. And once you're doing one, again, you will be surprised that after a week or two, you'll be like, you know what? I can probably squeeze in a second session here or a second class here. But set the bar low and then clear that bar every single time. That's what I want to try and do. Feel free to add on. Like I have clients there who like they might do a 2 day a week program in the Strong Woman program, and then I've created a bonus day, and I call it a bonus day. I'm like, hey, if you're getting to the gym on a third day, here's what I want you to do, but there's no pressure to do that day. What actually ended up happening was like almost all of them ended up just doing the bonus day. There wasn't pressure on them to do it, but it was like, I'm getting there twice a week. I can definitely fit in one more. So like the mindset again of like, I don't have to do this, but it's there if I want it. And that's what I say, if you set one session as your target, or like one gym session, one walk, and it's like you get more in, you're like, okay, I'm doing more than I expected for myself. And then that becomes your norm. So set the minimum you can do and make sure whatever it is that you somewhat enjoy it. So whatever form of exercise you enjoy doing, I would say start with that. Now, to get results from training, it needs to be with intention and not random. And this again, you'll see I created the Strong Woman program came from like me training clients in ATV fitness. And it was only when I stepped away from the gym, the PT gym, I realized the barriers to especially females training in commercial gyms. There's so many barriers there as to like, going in, unsure of equipment, unsure of setting up equipment, the intimidating factor of walking into a busy gym, just knowing what to do. And even in the gym that I train in now in district, when I chat to women in there, I ask them why they're there. And like they tell me that there's no structure. They know they should be weight training, but they don't know what really to be doing. And that's why like creating a structured program that you do day in, day out, week in, week out is the only real way that you're going to see actual benefits from your training. And the reason motivation drops when we're training is down to the fact that we're not seeing results. And for females, it's so much harder to see results. So if you're going into doing random workouts each week, your body's not really going to adapt or not really going to get stronger. So you're not going to see the benefits of you lifting heavier week in, week out. So creating a structured program or getting a program off somebody. And if you're in a gym, like if you're doing a PT with somebody, absolutely you should be doing training with structure week in, week out, and it shouldn't be random. Whereas if you're in a commercial gym, definitely asking the instructors or the people in there to make out a program for you and just commit to that long enough to actually see the results. Strength training is crucial to our long-term health, so you should find a way to incorporate this. And I don't say should a lot, but we just know the benefits right now are absolutely endless, especially when it comes to females in their 40s, 50s, 60s, what that does for bone health, for muscle health. And if we can't find a way to bring that in, what I would suggest again is reaching out to a PT studio, a commercial gym, like, a coach, and just like getting some help to navigate your way into doing 1 to 2 strength sessions per week. That could be a couple of dumbbells at home. If you're not doing any strength work, like 2 dumbbells at home, you can do a lot with. Um, I used the term before called becoming dumbbell literate. If you can be, if you can understand how to do a workout with dumbbells, you can almost tackle every single muscle group at home. So if a client who like just doesn't want to go to a gym, should do it. She bought 2 sets of dumbbells. She has a full body workout at home. We still talk about progressive overload and how to train with intensity, but it's about finding a way to fit that into your life. Again, strength training isn't just going to the gym lifting weights. There's lots of different ways we can strength train, like through classes, etc. But just do be mindful that the body adapts and that we have to have progressive overload. We have to be challenging ourselves to really see the benefits of training. So if we're spending 2 1-hour sessions in the gym per week, we need to maximize our time there. Now, I'm not against cardio. I love cardio. It is really good for our overall health or cardiovascular health. However, going into the gym and doing 45 minutes or an hour on a treadmill isn't going to benefit you massively if it's not done, say, as an add-on to strength training of some sort. Because when you're in the gym, unless your goal is running, you're in there doing a run, if you're in there and your heart rate's at a moderate intensity and you're in there for your 45 minutes or in a cross trainer for 40 minutes, yes, your cardio fitness is going to improve. Yes, it's better than not doing anything at all. The calorie expenditure is going to be quite low. It's going to be less than what you think. But if you're in there, could you do 20 minutes of cardio, 20 minutes of strength? Like if you went in and done like say a bit of cardio at the beginning, or you could even do like 10 minutes of cardio at the beginning, 20, 25 minutes of strength work, and then 10, 15 minutes of cardio at the end. Like what I would say is like you would get more from that 1 hour, that 45 minutes if you brought that in versus spending 45 minutes on the treadmill. So what I'd say is like rather than just doing the cardio, can we find a way to incorporate strength training in there? And when you're in there doing strength training, maximize your time. So what 2 exercises can I pair together, which is a challenge in a commercial gym. But again, if I'm doing a machine, can I bring a couple of dumbbells over and I superset? So I go this exercise, this exercise. Or can I just do 2 sets, but like at a higher intensity or a higher weight? And all these things will maximize your time in there. Or we are very time poor. And it's about if we're in there 45 minutes or an hour, let's get the most from it. Following and planning, learning to progress will be the key to you keeping it up. You get bored and you drop off because you're going in doing the same thing. After a couple of weeks, that intensity just drops. You might even increase the weight, but it's grand. You're just boring. You're sitting there for 60 seconds or 90 seconds waiting for your next set. In you go because you know you should be doing it. If you're not learning about how to progress, like how to push myself with intensity and get to a place where I'm actually like struggling here towards the end of this, or I'm looking to increase the weight over time by setting these performance goals, like I spoke about early on, of like, okay, in this machine or in this weight, I want to try and do this. It doesn't mean like a 1 rep max. It just means, okay, this I went in there week 1 and week 2. In 4 weeks' time, I want to lift heavier on this 1 or 2 exercises that I enjoy doing. That's a performance goal that you're setting yourself, and that will help kind of motivate you to keep going. But if you don't like, if you're not writing out your workouts, it's random. So if you're not going in tracking in an app or writing in your phone or writing on a sheet of paper, the weights you do, the exercise you do, the order you do them in, If you do go in just doing random exercises, random times, random weights, you're not going to get that response from your muscles. That's going to allow you to get stronger and get the results that you want to see. And that's going to again where motivation will dip and you just won't see the result and you'll fall off the love of the gym. So high reps and low intensity is where we start. So like 12 to 15 reps when you're going in. Why do we start there? I've often said to clients there's a difference between exercising and learning, and training and pushing close to failure. So exercising and training, when we're exercising, we're in there 12 to 15 reps. Yes, we're walking. Yes, the last couple of reps might feel a bit challenging, but like, we're doing our shoulder press here, feels okay. We're doing our squats. Yes, I'm sweating. Yes, my heart rate's a bit up, but I could definitely do plenty more reps on this. That's what exercising is, and that's good for us. That's what I want you doing. Your body has to go through resistance. And again, if you're new to strength training, it's important that we are doing that 10 to 12, 10 to 15 rep range with light weights because we're learning about moving our body under resistance. And that's the key. So we're looking to learn good technique for an incline chest press, just trying to learn good technique. So we don't want to push the weights too hard. But after a few weeks, we want to start progressing. And if you ask yourself, why am I going to the gym? So, and this is a question people don't really answer. It's like, why am I going to the gym? So if you're going to the gym to try and burn calories to lose body fat. Again, goes back to the nutrition part. Focus on your nutrition. Don't use the gym for massive calorie expenditure. If you're training a couple times a week without massive intensity, you're not going to be burning a lot of calories. Why are you going to the gym? I'm going to the gym because I want to tone up is a big one. People say tone up means building lean muscle tissue, dropping body fat so we can see that definition. How do we build muscle? The biggest thing we need to try and break the barrier in with females, which I think is happening now, is the thought process of if I train hard with intensity and lift heavy weights, I'm going to get muscular. It does not happen. It's kind of sad how hard it is for females to gain lots of muscle tissue. It's almost like it's not impossible, but like it takes a massive amount of effort of training with hard intensity structure over months, over years, because of your levels of testosterone. And that's why men see results a lot quicker when it comes to the gym. And that's what, again, what motivates men to go to the gym because they see the physical results. So the goal is to go to the gym and learn to train with intensity, learn to train to a place where we're pushing our body close to failure on certain exercises that our body has to respond. And our body's like, hey, what the hell is this? I can barely get 1 or 2 reps. That creates an adaptive response in your muscles. Your muscles will then recover through sleep, nutrition, protein, and then they'll be stronger the next day you go to the gym. So we want to start with higher reps and light weights, so we learn the movements. But the goal is to get to that 6 to 8 to 10 rep range, and we really learn to push with intensity. And that's where sessions actually become more enjoyable because you're challenging yourself, and you're like, Jesus, 4 weeks ago I could not lift that weight, and now I was able to get 8 reps in that weight. And that's the motivating factor that you'll see. But if you're doing random stuff, you won't see that. So that should say training action. So the training action is book your sessions in for next week. So this, if you do PT or classes, then it's different. You're booking through an app, and I would suggest to have those booked in. But something since I've come away from owning ATP and from having to go train in a commercial gym, my Google Calendar now has my gym sessions in there because if they're not in there, I will skip them. I'll be too busy with the kids, or I'll end up doing some work. I'll end up just being too tired. But if I don't put in 8 p.m. gym in, whatever day it is, 6:30 a.m. go to the gym. If they're not in my calendar, I will absolutely find a reason that I'm too busy or can't go. So what I would say is like book in your sessions. If you have a dentist appointment, if you're getting your car serviced, book them in as if it's that. It's not convenient. It's going to be hard to get there, but you make it work because it's going to benefit you long term. So what I'd say is go book your sessions in for next week is your action. Set a performance goal from your training. Doesn't have to be a big, huge outcome-based goal, a performance goal. Something you want to achieve over the next number of weeks, like an effort you want to give in your sessions, and go to the gym with a structured plan to follow. So there's a couple action points there to work from. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to blitz through these ones, but they are also very, very important. So people really are majoring the minors. So I want you to think majors over minors. Now, sleep is your superpower. No, said it before and said Lisa today. I feel like an idiot. The advice I would have given parents before my own kids came along as a coach. But look, you don't know until you have them. and we were blessed with two not great sleepers. Uh, but if you're able to get a full night's sleep, so if it's not really kid dependent, stop sabotaging yourself. So it is an actual superpower when it comes to energy levels, when it comes to fat loss, when it comes to muscle gain, superpower. And I'm not underestimating that. So if you're able to get quality sleep, get off your phone, get to bed a bit earlier, stop watching that extra episode of Netflix. If you're looking to improve your overall health and well-being, sleep is going to help you do it. Now, I'm sorry to parents, new parents especially. Uh, we have to just ride the wave of that and get it when we can. But if you are somebody who has access to or the ability to get quality sleep, give yourself the best chance by having good sleep hygiene before bed, setting a regular bedtime, looking to set a time where you get up most mornings, and you will feel like a different human in the space for a couple of weeks. Stress needs to be addressed. So even when I was writing this sentence here, I was like, people come to me for coaching around nutrition and training. If someone had a toothache, they go to a dentist. My car broke down, they go to a mechanic. If you are suffering with high stress, high anxiety, and it's impacting your quality of life, I would suggest you go book in for a counseling session or book in to see a psychiatrist or just talk to somebody. There is still a stigma around mental health that I see anyway. As somebody who took up counseling a few years ago and it generally changed my entire life. And it's something I didn't realize I really needed till I started. That if you're unsure or you feel a bit awkward, but like your mental health doesn't have to be in a this is the biggest, I suppose, barrier. You don't have to be in a really bad place to go see a counselor. It's just you going chatting, you just having what I say to my own counselor is a safe space to say whatever it is you want. You can't probably say it to anybody else. So if you're somebody who's on the fence or you're just feeling a bit like unsure or your head is a bit kind of melted at the moment, I would say just try a counseling session and you'll be surprised how it feels because stress is something that needs to be addressed when it comes to our overall health and well-being because it has a knock-on impact to our motivation to train, to our food choices. So definitely reach out to somebody if you are in that space. If your plan only works when life is calm and stress-free, it's not a plan, it's fantasy. That kind of rhymes, I didn't mean it to. But I mean that. So most people's plans aren't allowing for the chaos that is life. So what I would say is like, don't make the perfect plan of like training 4 days a week, track and plan and play on every single meal. It's like, okay, what does my chaotic week, because we all have them, what does that look like? Where can I fit in the little 1 or 2 hours to plan some food or prep some food? Where can I fit in my 2 sessions, book them in the calendar? Where can I do that? So don't make the perfect plan, just make a plan that fits into real life. And you can't stop, so it needs to fit long term. No, I can give context to that. So you can stop, you can take a break. But what I mean is like this needs to be the rest of your life. There's occasions where you will be able to step up your training intensity. You'll be able to step up your nutrition adherence because life is just quieter. And or you have a holiday coming up or a wedding. Yes, you can actually increase. But what's your base level? Your base level needs to be, I can do this for the rest of my life. So for me, training 3 or 4 times a week is my ideal scenario. My base level is twice a week. I will almost not miss, unless I'm sick or whatever, I won't miss my 2 week session because my up level is 3 or 4. So I'm hitting two every week. If yours is one, that's your base, but then you get 2 or 3, fantastic. With my nutrition, obviously, like with Christmas, there's nothing extreme happening tomorrow because my base level didn't change too much. I took a break from porridge for breakfast for a while because I was just sick of it, and I'm back eating porridge the last couple of days. So like my base is like my porridge, my eggs, my normal dinners. It's like what does your base look like? And it's when you go to step things up. So like when I go to a holiday coming up, whatever, I'll track my nutrition a bit more accurately, that kind of stuff. So yes, you can step it up, but you can't really stop. So it needs to fit long term. So when you're making your plan, think about that. Just some, I suppose, belief systems. I know I'm sick of hearing it, but carbohydrates are not bad. Carbohydrates are not the problem. The amount of carbohydrates we consume and the type of carbohydrates we consume do play a role. So if you're high sugar, high refined carbohydrates, yes, you're going to eat more. Yes, you're going to want to eat more. But like carbohydrates themselves are not the issue. When we drop carbohydrates from our diet, we drop water weight. That in turn shows the scales dropping rapidly, which we think is the fat loss, which is not. And that in turn tells us that, like, oh, this is a success, this is working. We go back eating carbohydrates, scales weight goes back up, and we keep repeating that cycle. So, yes, you might need to moderate your carbs. I think sometimes I work with clients, We are kind of carb heavy on what we're eating and low on protein. So do moderate your carbs, but more like, whole grain carbohydrates will be more beneficial. And again, it'll increase your overall fiber intake. But carbs are not bad. Carbs are not the devil. We need them. They're our body's preferred source of fuel. Ingredients matter, but they're really the biggest problem. The trend over the last year has been people in supermarkets like, scaremongering with ingredients. I'm not a fan of Sophie and people like that, but there has been some helpful information that come from it. People now know how to read food labels, etc., and people are more aware of looking at ingredients, which I think is beneficial. But if you're doing it as like part of an overall picture of your overall nutrition, then yes. But if you're solely selecting foods as good and bad, then, because of the ingredients, I would say the danger's in the dosage. A lot of these ingredients that we don't fully understand, not see the name of, like, aren't harmful to us. So if you're someone who's stressing over that, I would say step back and look at the bigger picture. Yes, if we can eat more whole grain, more natural foods with less ingredients, we are going to live a healthier life. But don't let it be a barrier to you eating some bit healthier than you already are right now. Good and bad foods really don't exist. They don't. Yes, there's foods that are literally not that healthy for us, high in calories, low in food volume, but they're part of an overall healthy, balanced nutrition, in my opinion. Good foods are, yes, you think you're healthy foods, but like it's just a case of like some foods are healthier for us, some foods are not that healthy for us. But if we can eat more of the healthier stuff and still have some of the not so healthy stuff in a balanced way, then that's going to be the key factor. Because it's not just like from a calorie point of view, but from an internal health point of view, we want more nutrient dense foods than the calorie dense type foods. Okay, so just be mindful when you are labeling foods good and bad. It's not to say I can eat what I want, but it's just recognizing again informed choice. Yes, this chocolate bar isn't healthy for me, in regards like the sugar content and everything else. But if my whole nutrition today has been like fairly healthy, nutritious foods, I can absolutely have a 200 and odd calorie bar of chocolate as part of my overall lifestyle. And that's the difference. It's like we can have smaller amounts of those foods and so being able to control our nutrition that's all we actually want. Complex problems don't have single food solutions. This is something I want you to take away from tonight. It's like, this is a complex problem. And as much as people want to just like tell you it's not, it is. Like your nutrition, like if you're someone who's gained body weight and that you want to make a change with, it's a complex issue that has happened from your environment, from your since you've grown up, your current where you are in your life right now, like all these habits, behaviors, beliefs, your knowledge around nutrition and exercise and everything else, they all play a key role in why we are where we are in our lives right now. And that goes beyond nutrition. So it is a complex problem, but you can tackle it in a way that if we look to improve our nutrition slightly, if we look to start exercising on a regular basis, if we challenge our mindset, these three things can really help be a catalyst for us to begin feeling better. But don't be blaming single foods or single macronutrients as the problem. It really, really isn't. So we're nearly there. So war. Some questions came in, and again, like literally, I tried to give as much as I can. I think I kept it just over the hour, which I'm pretty proud of. But I will run through some of these. So consistency and how to stay going when doubt may come in. So that is going to come down to what we spoke about here on the goal setting side of things. You're not going to be motivated to keep going the whole time. You have to set mini goals along the way. 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Set targets that you're trying to reach, and give it all to try and reach those. How do I maintain weight loss? People, this is where a lot of people struggle so hard because when the approach is extreme, so when you're going low calorie or low carb, the weight loss happens. But then you can't maintain it because it's too extreme. So it's your approach of how you got there is where the challenge is. But even if you do it with a slower based approach and it's a more kind of realistic, maintainable approach, you have to remember like if you're someone who drops 10 kilos or drops 15 kilos, your calorie expenditure has dropped now because you're a lighter human. And so like what your maintenance calories would have been are now less because you know way less. You're burning less calories doing your daily activities. Remember, we burn most of our calories sitting here talking to you or BMR, basal metabolic rate, is how we burn most of our calories. So when you're way less, your body doesn't need as much energy. So therefore your overall daily calorie expenditure changes. You have your habits and behaviors and beliefs changed with that weight loss. If they haven't, then you're going to go back to doing what you were doing, and that's going to put you back into your surplus, and then the weight will come up. Maintenance is one of the hardest places to be in, something that should be worked on with a coach or with somebody who has the knowledge to do so. Staying consistent, so great for a target, shocking when it's hit. That goes back to the maintaining part, and it's about your approach. It's about what you did to get there is what the key is. What calories you need when training regularly so you can plan meals and healthy snacks properly. So I'm a fan of calories and calorie tracking, but all my clients, I work in multiple different ways. I work with mindful eating practices. We work with tracking some foods. We work with tracking all foods. But when it comes to working out your calories, remember it's a number that we're using based off a calculation from the information we know. It's just something that we're going to use to monitor our nutrition. So I give a range of calories. If someone's deficit calories are, say, they come in at 1800, I'll say, okay, our calories are going between 17 and 1900 calories. We want to look to stay in around there. We're not walking to like 1756 calories. If someone gives you a meal plan and says this is what you can eat and that's your calorie number, I'd be using that as a red flag. But what I'd say is like you walk out through, like to be honest, Google will give it you, but make sure calorie calculators, lots of them there's Google calorie calculators. But work out your maintenance calories. If you're looking to lose body fat, create a small deficit, like 300 or 400 calorie deficit, and look to just adhere to that for like 14 days at least, and like actually properly like track and plan out your meals based off that and see what happens after 14 days. But most of the time, we kind of stop tracking on a Friday, and that becomes an issue in itself. But any calorie calculator would give you that. But the issue with my fitness pal and stuff is that you put in like I want to lose 1 kg a week or 1.5 kg a week. That'll just take off the big number, and you'll be down at like poverty calories. So be mindful of what you're asking it to do. Like again, ask for your maintenance calories and then take 300 to 400 off that number. And unfortunately, if you're somebody who's a smaller person, you don't need as many calories. Just be mindful of that. I've had clients before, like, very petite, and like their maintenance calories could be like 1500 calories. So that becomes a challenge in itself. I've clients who, like, are larger clients and their maintenance calories could be 2400. So, like, there will be a wide range. But what I'd say is when you're asking it, is ask for maintenance and then take it off yourself from there versus saying I want to lose X amount of money. Binge eating in the evening, great all day, and then picking all evening. So if you're binging in the evening, so binge is a strong word to use, but if you feel like you're binging, then number one, that's can be behavior based, and deeper rooted than just nutrition. Like, it can be down to stress, it can be down to um how we're feeling emotional. So like, if it's a binge problem, an actual binge problem, like, then again speaking to somebody in that area will definitely help to address those behaviors and beliefs. But a lot of the time, what I see, people who are eating in the evening, like the high calorie dense foods, is that we've underfueled through calories, through carbohydrates, and through protein and through fiber throughout our day. So we haven't eaten enough to not allow us to get to that point of hunger, because when we get to that hunger point, that chimp brain comes in of like, just give me the chocolate. Whereas if we have steady flow of food throughout the day of protein, so like decent protein, decent fiber, good quality foods, we're just not as hungry in the evening, and it stops us having to go for that calorie dense food. And again, it goes back to, if we allow ourselves a little bit of chocolate every day, that'll make a big difference versus thinking we can't have any at all. So a few things to pick on that. How to get motivated, get back in shape, and that is literally going to come down to why. Why do you want to get back in shape? What does that back in shape look like for you? What goals you need to set to get there? What's the process for you to take the first step? And set the bar low and jump over that bar every single day and every week until you can start raising that bar, would be my advice there. Tips to get through the weekends without going off plan. Again, it comes back to that plan being too rigid Monday to Friday. I'm okay with things being a bit more rigid on Monday to Friday, 100%. You're in a structured routine week, but it's about still planning out, what does my breakfast salad look like? What does my lunch salad look like? Is it just one meal or one takeaway or just a couple of drinks? It's about having that meal or takeaway and having those one or two drinks and letting that be enough is what the key is there. And then obviously throughout the year, you're going to have weddings and stuff as bigger nights, but I'd say is like, don't be going too extreme Monday to Friday. Losing weight in menopause, again, could do a full webinar on this. I might do, because I work with a lot of clients who are in their 40s and 50s right now going through perimenopause and the challenges that face. That is an individual journey for every female, and it is so different. Every female goes through lots of different symptoms, from moderate to extreme. Some can be debilitating, but my role as a coach is to try and help women who are going through perimenopause to just make some changes and find ways to get them exercising in whatever way that works to look at their nutrition and see where we can make improvements to improve our protein, improve our nutrient density, and just have them feeling better from drinking water, trying to work on their sleep. It's doing all the things we need to do, but it's just looking at the individual of, okay, where we are right now, what are we struggling with, and trying to put some changes in place there. But it is an individual approach that you take. But again, it comes back to a lot of the fundamentals that I would have spoken about. So that's kind of everything. I kind of went through a lot there, I know, but there was a lot to go through. I hope you're taking something from it. Just so you know, if you're someone who's looking to work with me, obviously Impact Health and Fitness is my new business, and I'm really excited this year. I've got the one-to-one personalized coaching, and there's a special offer here for everyone who is signed up for the webinar. It's a 48-hour offer, but the one-to-one personalized coaching is there. I do 8 and 12 weeks with one-to-one nutrition and training. The Strong Woman program is something I'm really passionate about. It's kicking off on January 12th. People can sign up from tomorrow. It's an 8-week program, and the goal simply is to get more females training in commercial gyms and training long term. And I've used my own expertise over the last 13 years to try to build a program that's going to help females do that. And I also do corporate wellness and workplace health. So if you do know somebody who would like me to come into their workplace, I'm absolutely open to that as well. And the 48-hour special offer then is anybody who signs up in the next 48 hours, you will get my 12-week one-to-one coaching program for the price of the 8 weeks program. So that is me. I would like to say thank you very much for you that came on live. And for those that listen back, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask. I actually recorded it, which is fantastic. Thanks very much, guys.